Welcome to an exciting journey into the world of auctions. We will navigate the legal intricacies, explore digital innovations, delve into the economic impact, uncover hidden treasures, and ensure your confidence with consumer protection. So whether you're a seasoned pro or a curious newcomer, this is your backstage pass to the voice of auction.
Okay, good day. I'm with Philip, John, and Charles. Just want to find out from you guys what inspired the founding of SAIA, and also what are the initial goals and objectives of the institution.
Okay, thank you for that. In the early days, when I first started in the auction industry, it was a much smaller environment. And my boss at the time, Eddie Winterstein, was one of the founder members of SAIA. And I think he was inspired by going to America, understanding the NAA's way of life, and trying to institute something here which would become more regulated. And it became a norm of auctioneers to gather, even though we were competitors, to discuss ways of going forward. And I think that's how SAIA formed itself in 1983, I think it was. That's how long we've been in existence.
So what were the initial goals and objectives of the institution, John?
Well, I think that it was to set up primarily a code of conduct of how auctioneers conduct business with each other and with the public at large and with clients. So the North American Auctioneers Association has 4,000 or 5,000 members of auctioneers, and I think a lot of inspiration was taken from that. And it's how one engages with clients, the public, and other auctioneers at large. And then in addition, to try and grow as a brotherhood, to try and help people that were joining this. It was a relatively young industry at that, led by 2 or 3 major auctioneers. And I think as a result of that, many things have happened where we've got a school of auctioneering, and our family of auctioneers in South Africa is significantly bigger than it was when the association was first formed.
Okay, you've touched a bit of what was the next question. Just wanted to find out some of the significant milestones and achievements in the organization's history since it's been founded. Charles?
Yeah, I'd like to take that. Obviously, over the years, with the time evolving, we've managed to be recognized as a professional recognized voice in auctioneering. Mm-hmm. And with that, we've got professional designations. That's very important. Touching on what the gentleman has said, we've brushed off the ideas of the NAA with the American Association, where we need to make something a code of conduct and to get recognition as the professional auctioneers within South Africa. So that's a very, very important milestone. And also our outreach and the growth of our family and the brotherhood, where we are competitors, but at the same time we need to speak with one voice and see the right direction, which is always positive.
Okay, thanks. So, have there been any major challenges or obstacles facing the organization through its history?
Well, as with any organization, it's driven by a board of directors, which is a team of individuals that get together and use their own time to help and develop an organization. So as with any organization, you go through ebbs and flows with regard to how an organization works together. Right now, I think we're in a very healthy position. I've been involved in the board for some time. I think for an organization to be effective, it has to be financially sound. And one thing we've been able to do over the last number of years is to build our financial resources to be able to deal with any obstacles that face us. So we have had one or two difficulties over the years, but by and large, it's an organization that's run well. The members like being part of it. And I think particularly with the changes in technology that have come about in terms of how one markets things, it's been a great time for new entrants to enjoy and learn from the more established players. Philip, you got anything?
Yeah, I think what it does is it creates an environment of credibility, and everybody wants to be recognized as a sound member of a good organization that runs smoothly. And I must say that even though we are all competitors, we're a guild of like-minded people with the same objectives. And there's been a lot of things happen over the years, which, if you've got time, I'll go through some changes that have happened over the last 50 years that I've been involved in the auction profession.
Because it actually touches to my next question, where I'm going to ask about the mission, the purpose, the evolution of it since its inception till now.
I think the main purpose is to establish a parity between competitors, where we are in a position to assist our fellow members, buyers and sellers. So we're a fulcrum, and that creates an environment of credibility and trust. And trust, as you know, it takes a long time to build up. And we're very, very strict in our code of conduct and ethics and the way auctioneers perform. And we'll, at one stage we formed various different bodies in the organization, one of them being governance, that controls the conduct of the auctioneers and resolves disputes. It's a dispute resolution environment.
Okay. Are there any notable figures that played a role that have changed the whole game?
I think I can I answer that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so as I said, from the inception of the auction industry, the auction association called SAIA, which we are proud members of, the founder members were very instrumental, and I'll mention them by name. Was one of them being my boss, Eddie Winterstein, at the time. He was a founder member, brought wonderful concepts and ideas on how to improve the auction industry, not selfishly for himself or for his owning it. He had a bigger vision. And I think that was also because of his influence in America. And one of our other founder members recently just passed away at the ripe old age of 104 years old. Stan Hack, who was very well respected and an icon in the industry. And these guys were looked up to as real organizing the process of what happened in the auction industry. They were really instrumental in doing that. And I think since then there's been a lot of changes, which I think my colleagues can.
I think if I was to talk about the evolution, that starting, it was very important that those gentlemen sat down and laid the footprint out. And I think the organization grew from strength to strength there. And certainly when I first joined in the
90s.
early 2000s, it was very much a close-knit community of like-minded individuals. With the changes that went on in our country, we had a very important milestone that happened in our organization. Was we had our first black president, or chairman, sorry, was appointed, and we had an indaba where all auctioneers were invited, and we came up with a blueprint to effectively address all of the concepts that were needed in order to transform our country and industry. And a lot of the thoughts that came out from that very meeting, and it was done over a weekend, I can remember it clearly. Everybody got together and we put together a blueprint for the future. And a lot of that decision making on that day is something that still leads us in the directions in which we're going, and it reminds us of what we need to do in order to move forward. So I thought that was a pretty important milestone. Charles is...
Yes, just to add what John is alluding to. Obviously, that was quite a way before my time on the board, but it's evident what's happening today, where separate portfolios have been set up, which one I lead. You've got education, you've got governance, you've got transformation of stakeholders, you've got public relations. And what all these committees do, they work hand in hand and intertwined to bring the organization together. And we are the fulcrum, like Philip has said, we disseminate information from the buyers to the sellers, and either way. So it's a two-way traffic thing. So we feel the buyers are looked after, the sellers are looked after, and that's saying SAIA is achieving one of its objectives as we go forward.
Okay. So with that said, it gets me to our next question. Says, how's the organization impact and the influence has grown since its inception till now?
Okay, can I?
Yeah, please.
From time immemorial, since I've been in this industry, there's always been an element of suspicion around auction sales. And what we attempted to do in the formation of SAIA was eradicate those thoughts and bring it up as a credible, effective alternative to transacting, which it's done. So, the misconceptions were all also in the time due to either ignorance or non-transparency. We at SAIA have influenced the change in that, where transparency is an absolute vital component. As long as everybody is on the same page prior to an auction, it eliminates 99% of the confusion that might emanate after an auction or at an auction, or misconceptions about an auction. So transparency, clarity, doing things in a professional manner that gives it credibility. And from that, SAIA has developed a great kudos in the industry. And I tend to believe that we are an effective organization and an effective means of transacting in most different fields of assets, movables, fixed assets, plant and equipment. The most effective way to transact is by auction, in our opinion.
Are there any memorable events or initiatives that have left a lasting impression?
Yeah, well, I did allude earlier on about that meeting, the Indaba that we held. Certainly, of the people that are currently members, and I've been a member, as I say, since 2000. That was the blueprint. I think it was a directional change in the way that we addressed the various issues. Those committees were set up, as Charles spoke about, and we became an organization where we set goals, yearly goals. Our committee changes every 2 years. So 2 years is not a particularly long time. We're blessed with the fact that generally the board members put themselves forward for an extended term. And what we've been able to do is to make some major improvements to the auction industry. The world of how one promotes the sale of assets and the digital transformation of the world. We need to keep abreast of this. We've had, our committees are very good at addressing things. So we achieve certain goals on a yearly basis. Legislation within the auction industry has tightened up with the onset of the Consumer Protection Act. There's auction law written into the Consumer Protection Act, and our committees have dealt directly with those. So in terms of milestones, these, we set ourselves yearly goals, and we are able to tick off certain initiatives. And I think, as Charles said earlier on, the Education Committee is something that I have seen grow to such an extent that we are really making a difference in terms of educating the public, our auctioneers, and our clients at large. And that's largely down to Charles's Education Committee that he heads up. I've seen great improvements in the public relations. So these are all milestones that we achieve on a yearly basis. Governance, that is a very clear committee within our organization. We deal with issues head on, where we bring the parties together and we resolve these matters. The idea is we're a can-do and will-do organization, and it's important that we achieve goals. So we're a goal-setting committee and I think we've done a lot in terms of improving the auction industry, by and large, over the last 10 or 15 years. Yeah.
Okay. Lastly, how has the organization adapted to changes in technology, market trends, and social shifts?
Okay, I'll be quick on that one. I can't adapt to the change. I'm an old-fashioned auctioneer, one-on-one, live auctioneer, which today, with the modern advent of technology, has kind of rendered regular auctioneers redundant. And I'm delighted because it's boosted the industry. But I think my two colleagues here are much younger than me, can add value to.
Charles is the young gun. Ask Charles.
It's that's said and done, and obviously I've fed off their experience over the years.
Yes.
And having started off as a live auctioneer, you come to a stage where you're redundant. But with the advent of the digital transformation, auctioneers have had to adapt very quickly.
Yes.
Whether it's online auction or how you market your assets, and we've had to learn pretty fast. Some have been fortunate enough to have caught onto the train a bit longer than we had, but goes without saying. That's what the world is right now. You can have this asset here in South Africa and have a buy in Australia, bid for it, pay for it, and get it shipped out here, which didn't happen 10, 15 years ago. But what that has done, it's increased our buying base. And whoever's recognized that has put in the effort, has put in the financial contributions to be able to broaden their buyer base, and you can sell your assets all over the world. So it's actually a positive and a plus for all auctioneers, as long as you've done the homework and you're willing to learn. And again, as auctioneers, we feel a bit left out that we're no longer on the podium as frustrated pop singers or actors, but that goes without saying that the world has evolved, changed. So we have adapted, and again, education has put out webinars, has put out this kind of podcast,
Yes.
where we are educating the members of new marketing technologies, of ways to enhance the business and stay afloat. After the pandemic, a lot of people took a knock. It was scary, but we're not out of the woods yet, but we're getting there. And the only way we're going to do is to adapt and to learn.
Okay, thank you. John, how has the organization adapted to changes in technology and market trends and or social shifts?
Yeah, well, technology has certainly affected auctioneers, as Charles alluded to there. But I think the biggest change is marketing. The internet has changed our business, and that is that the way we promote our auctions, the way we interact with buyers, and I think it's all for positive change. It allows buyers from a much wider area to join in auctions, and the transparency associated with the bidding process is digitized, it's clear, and is auditable, and I think those are all very positive contributions to our organization and our industry at large. I think the biggest change that we brought as an organization was creating a portal called auctioneering.coza, which is a place where all of our members promote the sale of their auction. So instead of a buyer having to go to a multitude of sites, he can go to one site, see all of the auctions that are happening in South Africa, and then be redirected to that individual auctions. And that's allowed us to build a community of buyers. We also have our webpage where we at auctioneering.coza. It explains everything. So if you've got any questions regarding the laws that are associated with auctioneering, it's all there. It's there to assist buyers in finding information around auctioneers, who are members of our organization. So it's a very useful contribution. And I think the biggest change to auctioneers that I can think of is it started off with it was all live auctions and advertising in newspapers. And you used to be able to buy the Sunday Times and see 3 or 4 pages of adverts of different auctions. Now it's an online process. People go to auctioneering.coza, and we've developed a community of buyers of 50, 60,000 people that register and are able to be reminded of auctions in sectors that they're interested in. So I think that's the biggest changes in our lives here.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for
Thanks.
the great interview.
Thanks for doing that. Yeah.
Thanks, Stefano.